we have our denominators are going to give us either holes, or they're going to give us vertical asymptotes. So in this case, we're going to cancel these out. So there's a hole at x equals 4. And if we want to find out the y-coordinate of the hole, we just plug in 4 into the numerator to get 10, 4 into the denominator to get 7. So the y-coordinate is 10 over 7. So that's where our hole comes from. When they cancel out, we get a hole. If the factor doesn't cancel, we get a vertical asymptote. So that vertical asymptote is going to be at x equals -3. That's our restriction. So x is not equal to -3. We want a horizontal asymptote. We do that, we're going to use our limit. The limit as x approaches either -infinity or positive infinity. We can simplify this expression, and we can see that as x gets really big, the +6 and the +3 become insignificant, so we have a horizontal asymptote at 1. There's my vertical. I have one vertical asymptote, one horizontal asymptote. At this point, I'm looking for points to be able to help me sketch this graph, because I know it's either got to look like this or like this. And we don't want, there's a lot of detail we could interpret in this graph. We're only going to get a few points. The points that we're going to focus on right now are going to be our zeros. Okay, so zeros. This is from the numerator. So I look at my numerator, and to make my numerator equal to 0, I have x is equal to -6. So from that numerator piece, I get my 0. So there's my point. X equals -6, y equals 0. So I know it's going to be in this quadrant here and this quadrant here. The other point that I'm focusing on is the y-intercept. That's when x is 0. I plug into my equation to get the y value. When x is 0, I end up with 6 in the numerator, 3 in the denominator, so y equals 2. And this coordinate looks consistent with what I should expect, because I'm expecting my graph to go through here and down the asymptote, and it's going to come from above and along the asymptote to 1, y equals 1. So there it is. I've got my asymptotes, vertical, horizontal. I've got two coordinates, my 0 and my y-intercept. My 0 comes from the numerator. The y-intercept comes from where I substitute x is 0. And so there's my graph. This graph here, I need to factor first. If I get the factors, I can then deal with the pieces of those factors and see if I can get zeros in the numerator, and the factors in the denominator will relate to either vertical asymptotes or holes. Oh, which reminds me, I forgot to put in my hole here. So I have my hole. The hole is at x equals 4, y equals 10 over 7. So there's my hole. 4, 10 over 7, and that looks like it's about in the right spot. So going back to this example here, we're going to factor this. X plus 4, x minus 1, x plus 8, x minus 1. So I have a restriction. X is not equal to -8, x is not equal to +1. These cancel out. This represents a hole. Okay, I want to calculate the y-coordinate of the hole, so I plug in the x value into the remaining expression. I end up with 5 over 9. So 1 plus 4 divided by 1 plus 8. This represents then my vertical asymptote. So I'm going to draw my vertical asymptote at -8, so 3, 6, 8. So at x equals -8, there's my vertical asymptote. I do my limit as x goes to infinity of x plus 4 over x plus 8. That's equal to 1. So I'm going to draw in my y equals 1 horizontal asymptote. Okay, so that's I get my horizontal asymptote from my limit. And then lastly, I'm going to find two coordinates to work with. My 0 is at x equals -4, and my y-intercept is going to be at x equals 0, y equals, when I plug it in, I end up with 1/2. So writing in my 0, I have a 0 at this point. I have a y-intercept at that point. Okay, my whole is at x equals 1, y equals 5/9, so somewhere around here. So based on this information, I know that my graph goes along here through those points, along the asymptote, and then I know it follows the asymptote somewhat symmetrically on this side. Okay, and again, I have no coordinates on this side, and if I really want, this is not expected right now, but if I really want, I can make a table of values and come up with some more coordinates on that side.